We're joined right now by the general manager and president of the Salmon Arm SilverBacks, Mick. Troy, a difficult decision made for your team yesterday. You relieve head coach Brandon West of his duties. What was it that went into making this type of decision for your club?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, Brandon was a top-end guy, a human being, and a very good coach. And sometimes the coach is always the one that has to be the fall guy with our inconsistent play this year. I mean, being 8-14 and, the last game in Trail when you lost 10-3, it just showed that you had to make a change. And it wasn't because I ever thought he was a bad coach. It's just sometimes that's the guy that has to do it. As the cliche goes, you can't trade 22 hockey players. The coach is the one that has to go. And unfortunately, that was what had to happen yesterday. And had a team meeting with the guys and let them know how serious this was. I mean, you just cost a guy his job. So we'll see how they're going to respond here this weekend.
How much did that game in Trail serve as the straw that kind of broke the camel's back? Or was it something that was on your mind prior to that game?
No, I mean, I think like anything, I mean, you go through ups and downs. And, to start this year, we've had a lot of injuries. And, at one time we had 7 guys on an AP, that didn't play. And then we had our defensive core. We had 1 veteran and 4 rookies in an AP D-man playing. And, I think there's a lot of, intangibles that happen with that. I mean, our goaltending this year, and, they'd be the first to say it hasn't been as good this year. We have the most penalty minutes in the league this year. And, there's other things like that. But really, at the end of the day, the coach is held accountable for it. But it wasn't that he wasn't trying. I mean, I haven't, worked with a guy that's put more hours into this and being prepared, the technical, the tactical aspect of it. I mean, I spent 22 hours a day with that guy for the last 5 years. And you know what? I just lost one of my best friends to a business that can be cruel. And but at the end of the day, you got to win more than you lose, and we've all been through that.
Do you feel now with your record at 8-14, 16 points, you've got a big weekend coming up here against Merritt, do you feel that you're on the cusp, given that you're only 7 points now out of a second-place spot in the division?
Well, and that's the thing. And I mean, how long do you wait? I guess that's kind of the decision. I've never had to do that in my entire career as far as having to relieve somebody of their duties. And you know what? I hate that word fired because it really wasn't that, he wasn't doing his job. He wasn't working. I mean, at the end of the day, we relieved him of his duties just because of the fact that maybe there wasn't enough guys at that stage were buying in or what have you. And, we do know with the playoff format that it is now, we're still in a playoff spot. And, but again, I think we're definitely better than our record. We're also starting to get healthy, but, making a move like this, maybe the guys really figure out the accountability issue. Now go square on these guys. And, now we're getting close to the December 1 deadline and the January 10th deadline. And I can guarantee you that if we don't, obviously have a quick turnaround here right away, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be available.
How did Brandon take the news when you talked to him yesterday?
Well, like a professional. I mean, I was probably more emotional than he was. I mean, that guy has done a lot for me. He's done a lot for this community, did a lot for this organization. I mean, when we came in together 5 years ago and we bought the franchise off of Randy Williams, he's a guy that I brought in to be my left-hand guy. And you know what? We've done so many good things and done so many, spring camps and road trips. And you know what? He's part of my family. And you can only imagine that if you have to fire your brother or you're firing your wife, how that would be. And yesterday I was a mess and I'm still reeling from it today. But I have a job to do and I have something that I have to be accountable within the community and to our fans and more importantly to our players. So, now we've done the coaching move and now it's onus is strictly on my players moving forward.
And what's the plan moving forward now in finding a successor to Brandon West as head coach for the Salmon Arm SilverBacks?
Kind of just, looking, listening. I may have cancer in my ear or on my fingers just because the phones have been blowing up. And of course, back in the day, it was always someone would send a resume and fax. Well, through emails, texting, Twitter, Facebook, messaging, every other kind of app you can imagine, it's overwhelming. But it's also a great sign that, people really appreciate how valuable the Silverback organization is, and that shows the quality of people that have actually applied to want to come here. And now we just have to make the decision, moving forward. Are we going to keep things in-house? Are we going to look outside of our house, or we're going to go status quo until the season's done and then really put some time into it? And there's a lot of variables when you make this decision. And I think the biggest thing now is we want to do what's going to be in the right way, listen to the players, listen to our coaches that we have here now, and Darryl Hay and Brooks Christensen. I mean, Darryl Hay, his playing resume and his background speaks volumes, and Brooks has been here a couple of years now, so he knows the players. So, right now, I think it's kind of in the next 24 to 72 hours, we'll have a real good idea where we're going to go as far as the rest of our staff.
Do you have an idea whether you'll bring someone in now from the outside, or will you make more of a permanent decision in the off season?
I would say probably making more of a permanent decision in the off season because again, there's only 17 head coaching jobs in the BCHL, and a lot of coaches that maybe would be interested in the job are currently working but maybe in the last year contracts. But again, too, with Darryl, with Brooks, I mean, I also got Mishko and Steamboat that was here for a couple of years. I mean, I've got some great options within our organization that I can reach out to, but I definitely don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to panic, and I just don't want to make a move to make a move. I want to do what I think is going to be right for the foreseeable future. And if that means, bringing an outside guy in, yeah, that's something we would look at. But if it's something that I feel confident enough to have it internally, then I'll sure be doing that because if people know about your program, been involved in your program, it's a little bit easier, especially during the season where you bring a guy in, maybe he tries to change everything up. And I don't think that's what's needed here. I think the accountability issue within our players in our room is number one priority. And however we think that's going to happen, we'll be making happen.
Troy Mick, the general manager and president of the Salmon Arm SilverBacks. Thanks very much for doing this, Troy. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Take